I want to tell you that I'm getting, we have got our ways to improve. I actually had to check this out because I needed to make sure that, yeah, I did it. Number 15, we're going to be on number 15 today from our 101 ways to improve your grammar skills. Now, there was something that I wanted to say about this when it comes to our grammar skills, and that's this. You're going to hear a lot of times a whole bunch of titles, a whole bunch of what would you call parts of speech? There we go. Parts of speech. You're going to hear a lot of the different parts of speech. You're going to hear about a gerund. Not today. I didn't put it on there. I should have put it on there, but we're not going to get to it, so it doesn't really matter. A gerund. Well, who cares about a gerund? Who cares if that is one thing you will never say again, is that a gerund is a word that ends in ing that acts as a noun. You will never have to know that. I promise you. Well, no, I can't promise you. If you're an English teacher, you'll have to know it, right? That's what I say. Unless you are an English professional, you won't have to know that a gerund is a word that acts as a noun and ends in ing, like now all of a sudden I have to do it. Swimming is a great sport. Swimming is a noun. It's a subject there, right? It's acting as a noun. Okay? Playing in the right way makes everybody feel better. Playing there is a subject of our sentence. It is the thing doing the action. That's the subject of a sentence. So now we've just said subject, we said gerund, we are talking about, we're going to be talking about linking verbs, irregular verbs. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I have been debating about whether or not we're going to go to an hour long on our early bird classroom. We likely will go to an hour long on Wednesdays for our science and math class. We hit a lot of stuff in our science and math class, but in those classes, even though we hit a lot of stuff, the things that we are learning in those classes are easier to learn than the phonics. Why? Because nobody talks about gerunds, but people do math all the time. As I said in the early bird classroom yesterday, We need math to build that house next door. Although that's not a house. That's like a helicopter landing pad. That's not a house. I don't even know what that is, but it's not a house. We had our general meeting last night over here in the association. Like, they're getting away with something. Like, he's getting away with something. Like, people are getting away. You're not getting away with anything. Oh my gosh. Stop acting. Stop trying to get away with things. It makes you sick. It does. But here's what I wanted to say about gerunds. and parts of speech, like adverbs and adjectives and prepositions and prepositional phrases, right? Actually, that was the one I was trying to think of. I turned my head to think of the one, and that was the one. It's good to know. I am not a English teacher, but I do, as a professor, I have had and conducted writing extensive classes, which means that you have to know how to write in these 3,000 level classes, which is really good, right? So you have to know how to write in those classes. So I do have some extensive knowledge in grammar, but I'm not an elementary school teacher, so I've never taught English before, right? But I do remember liking English, and I do remember remembering the parts of speech. And I always thought that it was very valuable for you to be able to diagram a sentence, all right? And diagramming a sentence is to take any sentence at all. Just take a sentence and see if you could name every part of speech in that sentence. And you would literally, because you would get tested on it, so you wouldn't get tested verbally, right? You would literally have to diagram the sentence. If there's a prepositional phrase, there would be preposition, right? Article, object. So you would actually diagram it like that, right? So it wasn't diagrammed in a straight line according to the sentence, but you had these, offsprings, whatever, right? You had these other, all right, offsprings. We're going to call offsprings right there. But here's the thing that I wanted to tell you that is most important about why I started saying this, and it's this. You don't learn your parts of speech. We're going to keep these for early bird classroom. Let's take a look at these really quick. You don't learn your parts of speech necessarily from an English class or how to speak grammatically correct, right? You don't learn how to speak grammatically correct by learning that some words, to form the past tense, you add an ed. Oh, okay. So hold on just a minute now. I'm going to speak in the past tense about playing, and so I'm going to say add an ed to play, played. No, of course you don't do that. Of course that's not what you do. Let's see if we can see the cells in this flower. Early birds. Hold it still, Annette. It's Dr. Annette to you. A little bit, but not really. Look at how beautiful that color is. Oh my goodness gracious. Unbelievable colors in nature, right? That might be another summer boredom buster. That would be a great summer boredom buster. Go find out the colors of the rainbow and then find them in nature. There's orange gold. Oh my gosh. And see how many different shades, like for example, of orange you could get on the color spectrum. No, I can't see the cells in there. Let me split it apart just a little bit. Not like I'm not going to break it. But for the camera. I don't know. I'm certainly not doing a very good job of. Here we go. Oh, hold on. At least we have one good light working, right? Well, that doesn't help. But that might. Oh my gosh. Look at that. I can't see the cells, but if I could spread it out, because if I had another hand, if I had another hand, it's like if I had $1 million, which doesn't even go to that song. Another mama-ism. My mom. All right, so, oh my gosh, look at these though. These are lilies, and these lilies last a long time. You could see some of these other ones are sad, and I just didn't want to get more flowers because I had flowers outside and stuff like that. This one, I won't have them next week Wednesday, so I want to show them to you now. What the heck? All right. Oops. Stay there. Stay there, little light. There we go. You'd think that that would be easy to do, but it's just simply not. Looks like a cobra, doesn't it? That comedian called it relentless. I'm relentless. All right. See all of these little, I forgot what you call them. There's a stamen in that, but then there's also the, what are they? The asters? Something like that. Look at those, all of those. Can't see it very well in my nail. So our parts of the flower, right? Those are all dropping off that purple flower right here. So I don't have the part. Oh, and I forgot to show you these yesterday. I saved these. These are, so we're looking at the different growth patterns of our plants, right? So there's a little bud. That was what these came from. But these two little buds fell off of there. See that? So plants in the process of growing, these are the flowers before they flower. I kept those here, but I forgot to tell you about them yesterday. So no more time like the present. No better time like the present in our phonics class. Why not? Hello. Because we're learning parts of speech. And what I wanted to tell you is that in learning parts of speech, the best way to learn the parts of speech, not the names of the parts of speech, actually, but how to speak grammatically correct is by hearing others. By hearing others. And even better, by reading books. Even better by reading books, because some people just do not speak grammatically correct. And if we come from parents who weren't well educated or didn't really worry so much about grammar, right? Now, sometimes you get, though, it's interesting because sometimes we're reading the book. Oh, I don't even remember what the name of it is, but that's okay. We've got it right here. It's something about Beaver, Into the Beaver, but it can't be that. Dear Jesus. The Sign of the Beaver, of course. The Sign of the Beaver. Elizabeth George Speare. And yeah, it's a pretty interesting book. But there they have got where they're using Southern language. So sometimes if there is something that somebody is speaking in a specific dialect, like Southern dialect, right? Not Southern language, it's still English. Southern dialect. So fur instead of for, right? I went for some from what would they say? I went for some supper, right? So if I were to write that out, I would spell for F-U-R. And then you would get in your writing. I don't have the book here, but I did a really good job. And actually, I have to pat myself in the back because I actually did a pretty good job of reading that. I got a little used to reading dialects when I started reading Mark Twain. And it does help to not skip over the words, of course. You lose part of the story when you skip over the words, or to make them sound like proper English, because then you totally get immersed in the story when you hear the dialect. But the point here is that when you read from something like this, you get a person who writes grammatically correct. Adjectives modify nouns and pronouns. Modify is basically a way of saying that adjectives tell us more about the nouns and pronouns. Adjectives describe nouns and pronouns. So that's a part of speech that we're learning. But as I read that, I'm reading it grammatically correct because that's the way that it was written. It was written grammatically correctly. Grammatically correct. Yeah, we'll come back to that later. I was gonna say a little bit more about the adjectives since I had it there, but we've got adjectives coming up. So let's take a look at what we've got here for our lesson now that we're 3/4 of the way in. So what I wanted to remind you of is the past grammar tips. So grammar tip number 12 was know your nouns. Remember that we had noun sheets, worksheets. So that helps you know your nouns. We're not going to go over that now. Number 13, know your pronouns. So last week we spent considerably more time on our pronouns. All right, I've got the wrong day up there, but that's when we learned it was day 54. Forming plurals. These were all the rules that we learned about when we were learning to form plurals. Most plurals are formed by adding an S. When a singular noun ends in CH, SH, S, SS, or X, add an ES to form the plural, such as churches. So there, what I did, last week we went through each one of those slowly. Well, we continued going through them slowly. And so now I put all of them there on one chalkboard for you. So all the rules for forming plurals. But that's a good example of how we could get overwhelmed by grammar and the English language and learning grammar. We can get overwhelmed because look at, what did we just say? We were just all of those rules that we have just to make a singular word plural. But if I had more than one book, I would have three what? I would have three books. You know that. You already knew that, didn't you? You already knew that. So now the only time you really need to know these rules is if you're an English teacher or if you're just not sure how to form a plural. And guess what people do? They memorize all those rules. No, of course we don't memorize all those rules. I would have never remembered all those rules to be able to present those to you if I didn't have my trusty Volume 2 library book from Southwestern, right? I don't even know. I mean, is that just all that it is? Just Southwestern? I think so. All right, Annette, you've wasted enough time. Yeah, Southwestern from Nashville, Tennessee. A clear and complete, colorfully illustrated, totally indexed, modern, authoritative reference for home and school use. Yeah, this was basically mostly out there in the 1990s for moms who started to homeschool. A lot of homeschooling. So a lot of good information in these books. So that's where I'm getting this from. Now, so I wouldn't necessarily I wouldn't know all those rules. I would not have been able to recall all those rules. So I have to use the book. So we don't remember all those rules. We know that wish, if I want three what? Three wish what? Three wishes. Three wishes. And we probably know that from what? Maybe from Disney movies or maybe from Disney books. Three wishes, right? Rub on the lamp and you get three wishes. All of this has got all of it. All of this has got euphemisms for something else. Who produced this kind of language? That's what I want to know. Okay. So, let's get back to our lesson. Verbs express an action or a state of being. Now, we talked about this last week on Thursday. So, yeah, we were here on Thursday last week or Wednesday. I can't remember. Thursday. Verbs express an action or a state of being. So you can go back to that for more details, but we talked in more detail, but here are verbs that show action. Run, jump, climb, right? You're doing something. You are doing something. The action in a sentence is called a verb. Now, those really are, verbs are really something as part of the English language that you do want to know. You don't graduate high school without knowing what a verb is and being able to identify the subject and the verb in a sentence. The subject is doing the action. The subject does the action. I don't think that they had subject in here, and that really bothered me that they didn't have subject. Oh yeah, they do, but it comes on a little bit later on, so that's okay. And they talk about it differently. So every sentence has a subject. It's the noun in the sentence that does the action. Now we could have a sentence that says run. That's a sentence. Run. That's a sentence. Okay? But where's the subject then? There's the action. The action's run. Where's the subject? There, the subject is implied. You run. You run. Who runs? You run. The subject is implied. All right? Every sentence has a subject and a verb. The verb is always there. We have to know the action. You have to tell me the action. So the verb is always there in the sentence. Sometimes the subject is implied. Place that on the mantle. Who? There's the action. Place. That is a conjunction, I think. It's a clause. It's a clause. That. Place that clause on the table. Prepositional phrase. On is a preposition. The is an article. Table is an object. That's what you can do if you know your grammar. And that is, and actually, I was not prepared to do that. So when I stopped for that was a long time before but since I remembered that is a clause, which starts a phrase. That on the mantle. It starts something I'm going to finish with. Place that. It connects the sentence with whatever I'm talking about, a clause, right? Place that, what? Place what? What? You need more. That's what a clause does. Connects you to the next piece of information in the sentence. Okay. I don't know why I'm opening up this book. We also have verbs that are linking verbs. Some verbs link the subject to a characteristic. They describe the subject. They describe the subject. I am, are, was, were, been. I also added these: appear, seem. You seem lonely today. That describes you. Linking verbs link the subject to a characteristic. Lonely. You seem lonely today. The sky looks cloudy. The sky looks cloudy. It links the sky to a characteristic. The caterpillar becomes a butterfly, links caterpillar to a characteristic, butterfly. The subject of a sentence is a noun. A noun, remember, or a pronoun. A person, place, or thing. A pronoun replaces a noun, right? It, they, he, she, we, their. All of those are pronouns replacing a noun. The subject of a sentence is a noun or a pronoun that does the action or is what the sentence is about. The subject decides the spelling or form of the verb that we use. So the subject decides what kind of verb we use, the spelling or form. Just like when we said, I can give you, or I have 3 wishes, right? The subject, I, tells me what the form of the verb is supposed to be. Is it supposed to be wish or wishes, right? Pelicans wish that they, or how about here? Penguins wish that they could fly. Penguins is the subject that determines whether or not we use wish or wishes, right? Penguins, that's plural. Penguins wish they could fly. All right? So you probably knew it wasn't penguins' wishes, but you didn't know the rule. Well, again, what do I do? I didn't finish this statement though. What do? Do I memorize all the rules? Yes. No. That's what I did before, remember? No. You look the word up. You look up wish, and then you find in the dictionary what the plural of the word is. All right? We'll have an early birds on dictionary skills for sure. We'll have an early bird on dictionary skills. But if you don't know, do people go and look up the rule in their grammar books? No, they look up the word in the dictionary. And in the word, there's a singular form, right? For one, the singular form. And there's a plural form of the word as well. Okay. Now here, I'm going to diagram this sentence. The very first time we diagram a sentence is separating the subject, the complete subject, the entire subject, from the complete predicate. We call it a predicate. We don't call it a complete verb. A verb can be called a verb or a predicate. But usually we call them verbs. When we have a complete verb, we call it a complete predicate. The sky is the complete subject. Looks cloudy is the complete predicate. All we're doing is dividing here the subject from the verb. The subject, the complete subject, from the complete verb, basically. The caterpillar is a complete subject, becomes a butterfly. That's the complete predicate, right? So the first part of the sentence, almost normally the first part of the sentence is the complete subject, and the second part of the sentence usually is what the subject is doing. What is a caterpillar doing? Becoming a butterfly. What is the sky doing? Looking cloudy. Now, for those of you who are just a little bit more advanced in your grammar, The complete predicate in the first one describes the sky. Adjectives describe nouns. So that is a complete predicate adjective because it describes the subject. What is the subject? Sky. What about the sky? I'm describing the sky. It looks cloudy. An adjective describes a noun. A complete predicative is what it is. Predicative adjective is a complete predicate describing a noun. That's different than a predicative noun, which is the thing that the caterpillar is. So linking verbs can describe a characteristic, right? Linking verbs describe a characteristic about the subject being sky looks cloudy, but it can also be a noun. The caterpillar is a butterfly. It becomes a butterfly. The butterfly doesn't describe the caterpillar. It is a thing. The butterfly is a noun. It's a thing. Cloudy is not a noun. Cloudy is not a thing. Cloudy is not a person, place, or thing. So cloudy is not a noun. But butterfly is. So that's just the difference between when we have a complete predicate that is a noun, a predicative noun. Butterfly, that's a noun. Butterfly is a thing. Compared to a predicative adjective, which is the complete predicate, starting with the verb. It starts with the verb. And it is the rest of the sentence, and it is used to describe the subject. All right? So that's just a little bit of a little advanced grammar for those of you who are just a little bit advanced, all right? This is how we first begin to diagram a sentence. The very first thing that we do is we separate the subject, the complete subject, from the complete predicate. First thing that we do to diagram a sentence. Here now we have tip number 15 from our 101 ways to improve your grammar skills, right? To tell us about adjectives. An adjective describes a noun, and I should have or a pronoun as well. An adjective describes a noun, and I am going to put that there. Of course, you know I am. Or a pronoun. There we go. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and read exactly what it says here now. So it says adjectives modify nouns or pronouns. Adjectives describe nouns or pronouns. Modify is basically a way of saying that adjectives tell us more about the nouns and pronouns. Here are some examples. A green house. Which house? The green one. It tells us more about the noun house. Swiss cheese. What kind of cheese? What kind of cheese? Swiss cheese. It tells us more about the cheese. It gives us some specific information about this cheese. An angry bear. What kind of bear? An angry one, right? Or a grizzly bear. What kind of bear? A grizzly bear. Those are all adjectives. Bear is the noun. Cheese is the noun. Person, place, or thing. That girl. Which girl? That one. It describes the girl. That's an adjective. Adjective, that girl. Which girl? That girl. A little something. How much? A little. Little is the adjective. Something is the noun. Girl was the noun. Which girl? That girl. It describes the girl. That girl. Which, how much of something? A little of something. Those are adjectives. You can see why we're only going to do 45 minutes on the phonics. I said we'll probably do an hour for math and science, but probably only 45 minutes for phonics, because this is a lot of information. Can you tell the difference between a noun and a verb? What is a noun and what is a verb? Now, I want to show you. Oh, I am adding some more sight words, but I don't have another page of sight words. Just to let you know, I am adding more sight words though, and those sight words are money words: penny, nickel, dime, quarter, dollar. So adding more sight words because we did money yesterday. Let's see here. I'm looking for what? My noun pronoun sheet. Why isn't it here? Oh, duh. No, is that it? No, there's my nouns and pronouns. Oh, I remember where it's at. There we go. So let's go and let's take a look at this. Noun or verb. A noun is a person, place, or thing, and a verb is... I'm just looking to see how I'm going to go ahead and put those up there. I know how I'm going to do it. So, all right, and then I'm going to do the same thing for... Okay, so let's take a look at this. Most beetles eat plants. Is that a noun or a verb? A noun or a verb? Most beetles eat plants. Well, we can see the subject of the sentence is beetles, person, place, or thing, doing the action eating plants. Eats is a verb. Marlene produced a lot of milk every morning. Is that an action or is it a person, place, or thing? Marlene produced a lot of milk every morning. Milk is a thing, so that is a noun. Milk is a noun. Milk actually could be a verb, believe it or not. It could be a verb. Okay, I need to move that up, so I need to move the verb and noun out of the way. Oops. The chick is looking for its mother. The chick is looking for its mother. Is that a noun or a verb? A noun or a verb? That's a person, place, or thing. So that is a noun. The goldfish loves to eat. The goldfish loves to eat. Is that a person, place, or thing? Or is that an action? The goldfish loves to eat. That, of course, is an action. And so that uses a verb. Okay, we need to move this up now. A frog hops from one lily pad to another. A frog hops from one lily pad to another. Is that a person, place, or thing? Is hops, the word underline there, is that a person, place, or thing? Or is that an action? Is hops a person, place, or thing? Or is hops an action? What did you decide? It's an action, of course. So we put a V in that box. Seahorses are fast swimmers. Seahorses are fast swimmers. Is are a person, place, or thing? Or is are a verb? Are is not an action verb, but are is a linking verb. Are is a linking verb. Seahorses is the subject of that sentence, right? Seahorses is the subject. It is the some snakes lay their eggs in the ground. Some snakes lay their eggs in the ground. Eggs. Eggs. Is our eggs a person, place, or thing? Or are eggs an action or a linking verb? Does it tell me something about a noun? Does it link? Or is it a person, place, or thing? Did you already tell me? Of course you already know. It's a person, place, or thing. Eggs are a thing, so eggs are a noun. Awesome. Just awesome on that worksheet. And that's how we do it, folks. Let's take a look back at our, should have added that too. I want to take a look at, actually we'll go back there. We'll go back there and we'll do the subjects after we do the verbs. I'm going to do just a little bit more on the verbs. Most verbs with a singular subject, remember what we said back here. We said that the subject decides the spelling or form of the verb to use. The subject decides the spelling or form of the verb we're supposed to use. So here the subject is singular, a girl. So the singular subject determines the verb we're supposed to use. Most verbs with a singular subject, most verbs with a singular subject end in S. So runs is the verb. That verb is singular. So it's the opposite of our nouns, isn't it? A singular verb adds an S. A girl is a singular subject, a singular noun. Runs is the singular verb. The frog jumps, a dog barks, the boy laughs, the squirrel eats. Remember what I said. Do we memorize the rules? No. Could I have told you that rule? No, I couldn't have. I looked it up. I looked up those rules so it was easy for me to plan this lesson, right? So I had all the rules and I didn't miss any. I couldn't have told you that rule. That I know I couldn't have told you that rule. Even though I remembered it after I read it, I know I couldn't have told you that rule right off the top of my head. We don't remember the rules. But would you know to say the duck quack or the duck quacks? And did you know that because you knew the rule? Or did you know that because you heard it before? The duck quack? No. The duck quacks. Let's look at the next one because it goes with this one. Verbs with a plural subject. Girls. Drop the S in the verb. So the plural verb for run is run. That's the plural verb. The singular verb for run is runs. The plural is run. Girls run. They escape. They is plural. Jeff and Alex test the phone, or she tests the phone, right? Or Alex tests the phone. But when you have two people, a plural subject, Jeff and Alex test the phone. Friends laugh. Birds sing. We did pretty good. We should have called the subject verb agreement instead of regular or irregular verbs because we haven't gotten there yet, right? We haven't gotten there. So we actually might change it. We'll see. Subject verb agreement was really much more what we talked about here today. This is Dr. Annette Feravich. Thanks for joining me in the Early Bird Classroom. That was a lot for us to learn. So, but don't sweat it. Don't sweat grammar. Don't sweat it that the English language is the most difficult language to learn. Don't sweat it. Why? Because we learn most of our English grammar from hearing others speak well, hopefully, right? How are you doing? I'm well. I always say I'm good. Whatever. I do it. That's what I do. It's the way I do it. But I know it's grammatically incorrect. How are you doing? I'm well. Right? That's what we're supposed to say. So we do it, but sometimes we don't get it right, right? I'm good. I'm good. I'm good, thanks. That's grammatically incorrect. Sometimes we don't hear it. Sometimes in our everyday speak, it's not grammatically correct. But most of the time, we can pick up grammatically correct speech from hearing others, and even better from reading books. This is Dr. Annette Feravich. We're here in the classroom. Thanks for joining me. The Early Bird Classroom. Why? Because I am the teacher. Hope to get that fixed someday. But again, we have actors here in Milford, and they don't believe in actually getting a formal education in order to be able to run a business and call themselves a dentist. This is alt-right homeschooling thinking. Dr. Annette Feravich, thanks for joining me. And that's not what we pay for. That's not what I pay for, right? I pay for educated people. You don't get to make that kind of money when you don't have that kind of education. Dr. Annette Feravich, thanks for joining me.